Hi guys, I hope everyone's having a good day. So I'm kind of doing this on the fly, but I wanted to kind of tell you my story as an artist or my testimony. So everyone knows that being an artist, um, there's a catchphrase that a lot of people use, and that's starving artist. And for a long time, I actually believed that artists really do struggle. But I want to tell you that artists do not struggle if they're in the right zone. So I want to tell you kind of how I became a pet portrait artist. So this didn't come by choice, okay? This came by need, demand, and also by divine intervention with God. So everyone knows I'm a Christian, and for years, as a teen and all through high school and even in college, I was an artist until I got married. And then I took about 20 years off to raise my kids. And it kind of happened by accident that I got back into art. But I had a job as an optical department manager in an eye clinic back in 2010 through 2011. And in 2011, I was let go from my job. Kind of distraught and didn't know what to do, and I was like really just confused as to why. And I had just got to where I really, really loved my job and was doing really well, but I just didn't understand. And I really feel like now that I look back, I really feel like God was setting me up for a greater thing, and that was to get back into my art because that is something I'm passionate about. That is something that I love doing, and it's a gift and a talent that I believe that God gave me. So in 2011, when I lost my job, I decided to reopen my art studio. Well, I hadn't had an art studio, so I decided to open an art studio in 2012. In 2012, I had something that happened in my life. It was like a traumatic event. And then in 2013, I don't know why I'm shaking, but anyway, I guess trying to hold this phone up. But anyway, so in 2013, I actually started developing a lot of pain in my face. And I had had pain before in this area, but it was so sporadic I didn't really pay much attention to it. In 2013, I was diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia of the face on my right side. And I went about 4 years on heavy seizure medicines. I didn't have seizures, but this was the kind of medicine they had to put me on in order to resolve some of the pain. And even with the medicines, it got so bad sometimes that for months I couldn't eat or talk, or so it felt like electrical shocks in the face. And I didn't get on the tangent to tell you about my medical history, but so anyway, in 2013 I was diagnosed with that. I went about 4 years dealing with that. So in 2017, not only did I have pain here, but I was having a lot of neck pain and a lot of back pain. And so when I went to my neurosurgeon to have this checked out, I asked them to do an MRI on not only my brain, but my neck and my back. And to make a long story short, in 2017, I was told I would need a back surgery and brain surgery. So in February of 2018, I went under the knife, and it was really scary for me. It was like the most terrifying thing to go under brain surgery for me. And I'd actually got online and watched the surgery before this, so it was really scary. But I went ahead and went through with that surgery. And when I went to my post-op afterward, my doctor, actually the doctor who did my surgery, did not see me that day. My post-op was with an adjoining doctor that was in the operating room, and that doctor saw me. And when I was leaving, I passed my doctor in the hallway, and he was actually with another patient, but he turned around and looked at me and he said, "We need to talk." And I was like, what's going on? And he said, your MRI. And I guess he didn't tell me before because he didn't want to overload me with all the issues I had with my body. But he told me that I had a 50% blockage on my spinal cord in my neck, and that this was going to be the next surgery that he would do before he would even touch my lower back. So needless to say, I ended up having 4 surgeries in 2018. I had brain surgery, neck surgery, and 2 back surgeries. 2018 I knew was going to be a rough year for me because they basically told me it's going to take a good year for you to recover after my back surgery. I was having 4 surgeries, so I knew all of 2018 would be recovery. And when I had my last surgery in 2018, it was going to be a year recovery after that one. So 2 years I would be recovering. So at the beginning of 2018, when I knew I was going into these surgeries, I decided to go and get a sketchbook and some Micron pens because I knew I was going to be bedridden for the whole year. And so I just decided to doodle every day with my pens in my book. And I'll tell you this, prior to having my surgeries and doodling in my sketchbook, I had really prayed for about 2 years, and I was asking God. I was selling art, but I wasn't selling enough art to get out of the starving artist mode. And I was like, God, what's going on? Where do I need to be? I love all forms of art. I was making jewelry. I was upcycling things. I was doing acrylic painting, acrylic resin, watercolors, and I even did an oil painting in that time frame right before that. So I was kind of doing a lot of different types of art, but I kept asking God, where do I fit? What do I need to be doing for my art to be selling? And I actually asked a artist friend that I've connected with on Instagram out in California. I asked him, I said, what is it that's getting your art to sell, and why am I struggling? And this friend of mine had checked my Instagram and was like, as an artist, you're all over the place, and you have not nailed down a genre of where you need to be so other people can recognize you as an artist. And I was like, oh, but I love all types of art, and I wasn't sure where I needed to plant myself. And so really, I feel like this is a God thing, because I feel like in 2018, when I was going in all those surgeries and I was bedridden or chair bound, basically, that's what I call it, because I was in a recliner or I was in bed like almost that whole year. I had a couple of months where I was up moving between 2 surgeries, but for the most part I was down. And so during that time when I was just sketching, my whole mentality was not selling art, but it was mostly, I've got to do something to keep my mind occupied, to keep my hands busy, to keep me from going crazy, from sitting for a year, or to not get depressed or whatever from all the things I was going through. In about 6 months of drawing every day, and every day I made a point to finish a sketch, post it on Instagram and Facebook, and within 6 months I had my first commission. I had a friend of mine from Denmark commissioned me to do 4 drawings and a painting. He came into the States 2 months later, picked the art up, and took it back to Denmark. And it was funny because that had me so excited that I walked into a little pizza joint that had just opened up in our local town, and I was like, noticed that the walls were pretty empty, and so I asked the owner if they would be interested in a local artist displaying some artwork on the walls. And the owner was like, not really, but I would commission a piece from you. And so I did a little mock-up sketch, took it to him, and he approved, and I got my next commission. So I got really excited about that. That was in maybe September, October. And then at the end of October, I ended up having my next surgery. So in October, November, December, I had 3 surgeries back to back. And I think it was like toward the end of December, right after I had my back surgery. I think it was. No, I take it back. It was a couple of days before I had my back surgery. I put a post on Facebook, like a Facebook challenge to people, for people just to give me ideas to draw. And it was, give me 5 random objects to draw in a drawing. I just wanted inspiration. I just wanted somebody to give me some ideas. And I was trying to think out of the box. God began opening up even more doors through that challenge. And I don't know, I look back now and I think God had to have given me that idea, because I was just doing it because I had an artist block and I wanted some inspiration from people. And from there, I had people saying, can I buy my art? Can I buy my art? And I was like, sure, yeah. So I was selling it dirt cheap, okay? Let me tell you, you cannot be too proud as an artist to not start somewhere. And that's what I did. I started and I began drawing these 5 object challenge drawings. And every time I would draw one, I would post it on Facebook. And if that person liked their drawing, they would buy it. And if not, then I had, this little sketch that I did that I was proud of. So I think I ended up having like 17 people get on board and want those sketches. And I think I sold all but like maybe 3 or 4. And anyway, to make a long story short, which is already long, but anyway. So God began opening up doors for me in the pen and ink work. And I had not done pen and ink work since I was in high school, when I did a project where I did a pointillism and actually my mom probably still has the picture, but I did another project where I did Marilyn Monroe, a really big picture of Marilyn Monroe, and it was blocked off in I think 1 or 2 inch squares, and each square had a different type of texture or strokes, line work or whatever, to create an overall picture. So that was the last time I had done pen and ink work, and really had no desire over the years to do pen and ink work. But when I was down in recovery, that's what began to sell. And so my story is, sometimes when you are struggling and fighting to get somewhere in life with what you think is where you need to be, trust God, because in the midst of a storm, which is what I was in that year, God opened up, and I don't want to start crying here, but God opened up a door for me to nail down that genre of where I needed to be with my art. And I have become what is now known as the pen and ink pet portrait artist. So my 5 object challenge started with just random objects. I posted another challenge out for people to give me 5 objects, but I gave specifics. I said I needed an animal, a plant, an insect, a shape, and a color. And from there, I had this whole collection of art in pen and ink that were animals. Well, people began to love the animal drawings. And from there, I can't even remember how it started, but I started having people ask me, can you do my dog? Or can you do my cat? And I started doing pen and ink pet portraits. So I'm going to post a video. I've actually done another video about I think I posted on Facebook, but I did another video about some of my processes with my pet portraits. But I'm going to do a long video on YouTube about a lot of the portraits. I think it's all pet that I did. Okay, so I've done other portraits. I've done other commission work. So, okay, I am considered the pet portrait artist, but I do other commission work for people. I've done faces. I've done buildings. I've gotten people a year later wanting me to do the 5 object thing for them. So it doesn't just end on the pet portrait, but I will say I'm a pen and ink artist now. And I still love the acrylic work. I still love watercolors. I still do a lot of abstracts, and I've actually kind of integrated the pen and ink work with some of my abstracts now, and some of my watercolors. I'll add pen and ink with watercolors, or pen and ink with my acrylic work. So it has evolved. I'll just say it that way. It has evolved. So I want to testify and tell to you that I'm no longer a starving artist. Now, it's only been 2 years, and I'm not making a full-time living with my art. I do have to have subsidized income right now, but I'm only 2 years in. But I will say last year, which is 2018 and 2019, I acquired over almost 100, well, and this year as well, almost 120 new collectors of my work. And for me, that's pretty phenomenal. And I was able to pay off some major medical debt that I had from my surgeries. I am so proud to say I am medically debt-free because my artwork paid for that. And I'm just excited that the Lord has opened up doors and opportunities for me. And I'm here to say that we don't have to be starving artists, and we don't have to keep fighting to try to make something happen. If we'll trust God and trust the process, good things happen to good people. And this struggling artist learned to find her genre and where God wanted her in my art by being bedridden for a year. So sometimes we can look at obstacles in our life and we can say, wow, why did this happen to me? But instead I choose to look back and say, wow, what God did in the midst of that. So I do get a little emotional because I am so thankful that I can say I'm not struggling as an artist. I know where I belong. And that had to do with sometimes God has to put us on our back and set us down and say, okay, this is where I'm trying to take you. And that's what he did. So I just wanted to share that little testimony and that story with you because I do feel like it is really relevant to stop, listen, and allow God to work in your life, that good and perfect will. And I do believe this was a God thing. So I hope you enjoyed my testimony. I know it's a lengthy one. I'm sorry. I'm a talker. But I had to share with you kind of the whole story so you would understand. But I am going to put that video out on YouTube. I'm going to show you a good many of the pet portraits that I've done in pen and ink. There's a few watercolors in there. I'll show you the pet portraits. But I also, in that video, I'm going to be showing you my techniques because I do short time-lapse videos of some of my work as I'm working on them. So there's a few pictures in there that you'll see the actual time-lapse videos of me doing the work. So when I'm doing pet portraits, it depends on the pet or the nap of the hair, the length of the hair, how I do my pet portraits. So if I have a pet that has really long hair or textured hair, I can actually do strokes. If I have a pet that has really, really, really short hair and you don't see a lot of the hair strokes in a photograph, I actually do those in pointillism, and you'll see that in the video. And I will see if I can, after I post the video, I will see if I can go back and link this, link the video to this one, if I can. And if not, I maybe will type it in underneath it or somehow. But if you go to my YouTube channel, it's Floodlight Artist, and you can check it out there. But I'll show you my processes. And actually right now my pet portraits are very, very reasonable. In January this year, I had 11 commissions by the middle of January, and I was so swamped that I had to up my prices, but I'm still very, very reasonable on my prices, and I'm not out to gouge people to make a fortune off of them. I really love doing this for people, and I've actually had a lot of clients that have asked me to do pet portraits for dogs or cats that have passed away or that are on their last days, and they want that memory of their pet. So think about me when you everybody has cats and dogs usually, and they are very important in our life. My son has a cat, and I love my cat. He's not living with me right now, and every time he comes and visits me, he brings the cat over because I want to see her. And so everybody loves their pets, and we won't always have them. So I just want to share with you, if you're interested in having a pet portrait, I do an 11 by 14, and my base price is $100. So, like I said, that's really, really reasonable. And like I said, I'm not out to gouge people. I'm just out to bless people with a memory that they can go forward in their life with. And if that dog brought them joy or that cat brought them joy, and that animal's passed on, that memory is to hang on their wall to remind them of the good years they had with their pet. And that's what I'm here to do. It's to bless people. And so I hope you enjoy my story. I hope you enjoy the process that I will be showing you in the video that will be on YouTube, and I'll probably share it over onto Facebook. But this is my artist story. I hope you enjoyed. You have a blessed day, and thanks for listening and watching. All right, bye-bye.